So I already covered the first 8 episodes of Transformers Prime and decided why not keep going. Break down the series episode by episode whenever I want, and then who knows, maybe do the same for Robots in Disguise, to truly find out, once and for all, how well it all stands up when watched back to back. So let's talk about episode 9, Convoy. The episode begins with Fowler hailing Optimus, telling him that even though he put up one heck of a fight, he got blasted out of the sky by cons. He says they were after a nuclear generator called the Dngus, causing Ratchet to doubt the cons used for it and Fowler to explain the dangers of it, immediately establishing the threat of the episode, a force willing and capable of blasting Fowler out of the sky, which is becoming rather commonplace within the series. It sets the stakes in regards to the Dngus, since Fowler says if it is to melt down, it will hit multiple states with radiation, and I've played enough Fallout to know how that might go. Ratchet's skepticism may be hinting at a third party's involvement, a rogue band of Transformers, or a more human threat. The possibility is left open but not forced, leaving it an either-or situation and the mystery up in the air. Fowler says to send the Dngus through the ground bridge, which is a decent idea, but Optimus brings up its major flaw. If an accident happened during the transportation, then the ground bridge would spread the radiation further than even 50 states, causing catastrophic damage. Since that won't work, the group will be transporting the device by road themselves, picking up Ed and Fowler as they drive us into the opening theme. They drive with Optimus in the front, so if the cons come from the opposite direction, the volatile generator is in the middle of the action. Not a very smart formation. Instead, Bumblebee should have been up front with Blockhead in the back. Since they aren't in conflict yet, it isn't too big of a deal, but the seconds that will be wasted changing to a defensive position could be vital ones. Fowler honks at a slow driver ahead of them, running them off the road and getting reprimanded by Prime. Fowler says, "Don't tell me you're one of them textbook drivers," falling in line with Prime's serious by-the-book personality while also complimenting Fowler's loud and demanding personality that has been portrayed in previous episodes. Team Prime changed formation to the one I brought up before, but seemingly without reason, foreshadowing conflict that's yet to come, while also bringing into question why they didn't just use that formation to begin with. A man in a helicopter states that they are transporting in an unarmed civilian truck and descending ground units, raising tension for the upcoming conflict that was just announced by keeping the type of units, number of units, and danger presented by said units all up in the air. Fowler thanks Optimus for his help, but in a backhanded way, since he blames the current situation on the Transformers in general for bringing their conflict to Earth in the first place. Optimus retorts by saying,
"Are you suggesting that no evil existed on your world before we arrived?" Causing
Fowler to go speechless and changing the subject by bringing up turning on the radio. This was a good scene, furthering the hints that the threat may not be Decepticons and the idea that evil existed on Earth before their arrival. It still doesn't blatantly say that the current enemies are human though, nor the evil Optimus was referring to, leaving it a mystery for us to determine on our own, which I really liked. Fowler notices the helicopter and states that it's who shot him down, asking,
"Who is it? Wingnut? Dingbat?"
Which wingnut possibly being a reference to TMNT is something I just had to point out. Blockhead says to watch the rear as green cars approach, and box him in, the color scheme not being in line with the Vehicons, furthering the question of who they are. Optimus tells Spock to remain in vehicle mode until absolutely necessary, as Ratchet says he isn't picking up the cons' energon signatures, proving them to not be Transformers at all. Or well, it would be, but Ratchet also brings up the possibility of them using a cloaking technology like we see used in the Cybertron games, stretching the mystery as far as they can while also referencing the lore that the series stems from. A car moves Bumblebee from his Optimum position as another vehicle pulls up besides Optimus as its occupant orders him to pull over, finally revealing the human threat and giving their weapons the seriousness of said threat. The man in the chopper tells his men to stop their engines as Optimus slams into one, causing him to miss and an explosion to occur behind them, further emphasizing the threat of their weapons by their size, not limiting their destructive capabilities. A sentiment mirrored in the Scraplet episode, helping set it up here as the episode's lessons butt off one another. Fowler says he doesn't know who they are as Prime orders the Autobots to maintain their vehicle mode and subdue the enemies. Bumblebee and Optimus both take out a car each as the soldier climbs aboard Prime, trying to separate the truck from the trailer. Fowler, although motion sick, climbs out and engages the Tango. He holds him off the truck, trying to interrogate him, but losing the man as a tree smashes into him. Kids, keep your hands and feet inside at all times or you could be next. This scene shows the prowess that Fowler has demonstrated before. Prior though, the show is focused on his strength in adversity and his courage to face cons, where here we see the capability he has when pitted against humans, as his status of agent implies he should have. Back in the driver's seat, the chopper radios Fowler, taunting him by saying,
"I do hope you take better care of the Dngus than you do your captives,"
causing Fowler to angrily demand for the man to identify himself, revealing himself to be Silas and the organization to be called Mech, before saying that the Dngus will be his. He states that he has no intention of selling it, that he's not above inflicting casualties in order to accomplish his goal, and that a war is brewing in which the victor will be the one most technologically superior, foreshadowing that he will most likely see the bot's true form in the future, since the technology of both sides has to be demonstrated in order for one to win. Mech blasts the trailer door open, showing a new capability of their weapons, as they use it to fire a barrage of controlled explosives. The camera angles keep it so we can't see directly inside the trailer, with shadows covering it when we do, in order to make it a surprise as RC comes out the moment Fowler says,
So, you think Mech has all the most radical tech?
taking 2 cars out with her maneuver. Fowler says later Yang gets a lecture from Optimus, a warning advising him not to take Silas lightly, stating that Megatron preached the same ideology as him, and that's what plunged Cybertron into their war, adding more lore to conflict between Autobots and Decepticons, as well as finding parallels between humans and Transformers, which was built up throughout the mystery of if Mech was humans or Decepticons, before the answer was revealed. Ratchet says to prepare the second phase as well as where Rendezvous Point is, hinting at a strategy that is unfolding without revealing what said strategy could be. Soundwave intercepts said message, causing Starscream to plan an ambush to take the bots by surprise. Mech and the bots drive parallel to a train heading towards a tunnel, hinting at them having some significance to what Ratchet called Phase 2. They drive close to the train, diverging into its tunnel as Bulkhead uses his blasters to block off the tunnel behind them, keeping the Mech ground units at bay while also masking their movements from the eye in the sky as well. Given the perfect timing of it all, that it's been part of a larger plan all along, and that we see RC bent over as if she's picking up the Dngus as B knocks on the door of the train car, it's safe to assume that the Dngus will either be moved to the train within the cover of the tunnel, or that it's meant to seem like it would as sort of a fake out, but I guess we'll see. Air support shows up, with Fowler unsure of which side they're on, but Ratchet warning them of their company, proving that it's cons, as was set up by him unable to pick up Mech on the scanner earlier, as well as Starscream's ambush plans. Just wish they didn't show us them on screen till after Ratchet says that, so there's more payoff, but that's just a nitpick of how I believe it would have flowed better. The cons fire rockets at the bots, causing Prime to abandon his trailer as it gets blown to bits. Mech states that the Dngus didn't melt down, proving it isn't with the bots, and is instead at or heading to a secondary location. With the bots backs to a cliff, and the cons transformed in front of them, Optimus says it's now necessary that they drop their cover in order to survive, transforming and making Fowler motion sick, which was set up on the road trip earlier, and a nice nod to continuity. Silas says that rumors are true about the existence of living technology, as Bulkhead states,
After a long road trip, it feels good to get out of the car, stretch my legs, and kick some tail, mate.
And the two sides charge each other. As they fight, each bot having their own distinct style, Silas asks Fowler about the Dngus, leading us to a flashback where it was loaded onto the train while inside the tunnel, as I guessed before. Only notable thing is this soldier knowing of the bot's existence. He's left nameless, but if I remember correctly, we may see him again in the future. Silas, wise to the plan, says he has a train to catch, causing Fowler to warn and in turn distract Prime, leading to him getting smacked off the cliff and incapacitated. With Optimus down, the bot's overwhelmed, and the Dngus in danger, Jack says they need to do something quick, referencing his take charge leadership potential that he showcased in my first video as well as the Scraplet episode prior to this one. Miko suggests that they run human-on-human interference, but Ratchet and Jack says it's too risky, with Ratchet saying that bridging them into a confined space moving at the speed that it is could cause
mass displacement, trauma, twisted limbs, metal burn. Well, maybe not the last one.
And that it's nearly impossible to fix ground bridge coordinates under those circumstances, showing that he cares about the kids even more than the United States as a whole, so they must be growing on him, which is something also set up within the Scraplet episode. Raph, using his previously established technological know-how that was put to use in the same regard as this during the Darkness Rising 5-parter, gets the exact coordinates of the train real time while it's in motion. Mech immobilizes the occupants in the train with what appears to be the same explosive that was used earlier, with different different usage if only one is used. With the soldier taken out, Mech prepares to board as the kids bridge in, with the comlink from base now being shown to be used with cell phones, which is new for the series that we hopefully see again. Raph tells Jack that in about 20 seconds they will come to a fork in the tracks as he redirects the train, shaking Mech off before they are able to board. Some quick thinking that although does buy them some time, gets Raph found out and taken out of the hacking game with only a single press of a button, showing the technological advancements of Mech since only one button was needed for that capability and there are far more available for future situations. Mech boards and begins cutting into the roof of the train car as the bots finally regain the upper hand and Optimus wakes up. Miko grabs an axe and Jack a fire extinguisher that just happened to be right behind them, since the extinguisher is a weapon Jack has experience with, established again during the Scraplet episode, as well as them both pertaining to fires. I'll give it a pass as a possibility even if it's driven primarily from coincidence since we never saw them before this moment. If they showed up in the background prior to now with the words fire safety or in case of fire around them, it would have helped their existence feel far less forced. The kids threaten Mech and when the soldiers see Optimus they decide to retreat, with Miko grabbing Jack's arm and calling him fierce. A moment just like the one between Prime and RC that may make shippers ship and provide some free advertisement in the process. Silas says that the first rule of combat is to never leave the enemy with the spoils, blowing up the tracks and covering Mech's retreat. Jack tells Ratchet they all need bridge back, the kids and the soldiers on board, but due to Raph being out of the game they lost the coordinates to the train as well. Optimus uses an ability from Darkness Rising he calls Maximum Overdrive to gain a significant speed boost and catch up to the train. Miko says that maybe they should jump, that it's the impact or the meltdown, take your pick, and that next time Jack should do a better job talking them out of these situations, cementing that she sees him as a sort of a leader, voice of reason at least as well. She says they can buy themselves a few extra seconds if they go to the back of the train, which is actually a pretty good point even if it's not enough to save their life. Jack says that at least they are together, causing Miko to reach toward him, but it's a tease as she takes his phone and says to give Blockhead her guitar once she passes on. The bots finish up the last of the cons as Optimus gets in front of the train, attempting to stop it manually, barely stopping it before the tracks end as Silas scans Optimus and then escapes, saying he will find out what makes him tick. The kids high five as Optimus says that Earth has spawned its own Decepticons, hammering home the comparison between them and Mech and ending the episode. So was Convoy a good episode? Yes, but it had its fair share of flaws as well. It doubled down on abilities of our heroes, Optimus's maximum overdrives, Raph's technological intelligence, Jack's leadership potential, Miko's well-meaning but foolhardy ideas, Fowler's courage even against all odds, and the differing combat styles between the members of Team Prime. It introduced a new threat, with technological advancements of their own, guns that can fire explosives with different usages, and a rocket launcher that can devastate structures and cause a lot of damage. It showed the ferocity and strategic intelligence of Silas, establishing the danger that Mech represents while under his command. Sadly it wasn't all perfect though, with Mech leaving Fowler long enough to get back up being a little goofy, especially since they were the ones that shot him down. They also blew the tracks instead of fire on the train, allowed Prime and the train to be intact at the end instead of firing off another rocket their direction. Sure, maybe there was only one rocket and this could have just been used as a distraction for other reasons, but that limitation was never established, making it feel cheap that after he said not to let the enemies have the spoils, he did exactly that. Them not having cell limitations in terms of technology, as shown with how they stopped Raph with a single button press, gives them the risk of being more of a plot pusher than a truly developed threat. That being said, if they keep the button pushing plot pushers to a minimum and never fire more than one rocket out of their rocket launchers, it would be a way to fix these issues in the future by allowing their usages here to be the precedent set. Only sending a small amount of cons to the ambush and not sending them with a leader was beyond stupid. It hurts the threat that the Decepticons are supposed to be by diminishing the power they could have brought to the table and acted as a small obstacle instead of another side of a war. They weren't necessary at the end of the day, and giving Mech actual mechs would have had the same outcome while also keeping with the theme of Mech and Decepticon comparison, since just like the cons, Mech and the bots could stand toe to toe in some regard. With the scan of Optimus we may see something similar in the future, but I suppose we'll see. I don't have too much else to say that wasn't already said. If you learned anything, subscribe, dislike if you disliked it, and for more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. Have a great day. Thank you.